Life in the Cave podcast, where we try to work through some of the nonsense and the lies, noble and otherwise, that you've been seeing this week during your time watching the news, watching people talk about the news, watching your favorite TV shows, particularly the late night ones with the likes of Stephen Colbert. So we are here. It is October 19th, 2020, and there's been plenty of stuff to talk about. I am here by myself again. I am not joined by my normal co-host Micah, who had a paying job to do, so we don't blame him. But we're here, and we're going to talk about some stuff, and I'm going to try to fade this music out because there's really no need for it to be here anyway. So here we are, talking about this and that. I always want to start these podcasts with a little bit of philosophy, because I think it's really important. This being a philosophy channel, I really want to make sure that there is, at least a smattering of it. We like to add it in during the time that we're talking about the news, but sometimes it just doesn't make it in. And what I want to talk about this week is this idea of contentment and this idea of happiness. And philosophy is largely concerned with these questions of happiness, particularly individual happiness. That is, what sorts of things do we do that make us happy? In fact, when philosophers talk about what the chief end of man is, what are we made for? Most of them, not all of them, but most of them, use happiness as some sort of indicator for what we're even supposed to be doing. So when we think about happiness, we've got to take it sort of seriously. And I want to use this trying time, an election month, and all of the people that are trying to tell you that you can be happy if this election turns out the way that you want it to. And a lot of people are talking about this concept of getting out and voting. Go vote, go vote, go vote. You see this all the time on your TV shows, on the radio, all your presidential debates, the town halls. And there's all these ads. They're saying, go vote. Cool people saying, go vote. And I wanted to originally title this, maybe I'll make a video at some point, but I wanted to originally title it, Don't Vote. Because I think that would be kind of a catchy title. But I think the idea of these people telling you to vote is predicated on the idea that somehow voting is going to make you happy, or somehow the outcome of the presidential election or your local elections is going to make you happy. That if your guy gets in, you're somehow going to be happier than you were if he didn't. And I think that's just wrong. And I think that sort of mentality, the people who tell you that, are lying to you. You're not going to be any happier if Donald Trump is elected or if Biden is elected. Yes, there might be some fun to watch on the news if Donald Trump is elected and everyone goes berserk. And there might be some fun to be had if Biden is elected and there's much less craziness in the world. But all in all, your happiness is predicated not on your external circumstances, particularly circumstances as external as an election. I mean, you might say that your external circumstances have some level of import on your happiness. For instance, if you are on fire, or your house is on fire, or you have sick loved ones, those are things that may indeed impact your happiness. But happiness is certainly not found in who's the next president, and I really want that to be very clear. You're not going to be any happier if your guy wins. You might think you will be, but the reason you're unhappy, if you are unhappy, is because of you, the choices that you make. And that's why if you are thinking of going and voting and instead you decide to go feed some homeless people, or you decide to visit your elderly grandma, you're not allowed to do that because of COVID, but if you decide to actually be a good person, you'll find that you'll actually be happier than if you get your way. Plus, depending on what state you're in, if you're in New York, California, it doesn't matter what you vote for. That's just reality. But so I just wanted to point that out, that your happiness is not predicated on an election. It's not predicated on who wins. Really what you want to do is you want to think about your own life, and you want to think about your own, are you doing stuff that's worthwhile? Are you spending your time in a really effective way? Do you have your philosophies in order? Do you know what you believe? Is there a God? If there is, are you good with him? Like, these are all questions that philosophy tries to answer. Yeah, that's true, Dean. You will never be happy if you live in New York or California anyway. I'm from New York. I moved out to Pennsylvania, and it's better. It's better. So what I want to really do, I really want to encourage people in this channel, on this podcast, to be introspective, to think about why they believe what they believe, and to realize that if you're looking for other people to make you happy, you're just going to be disappointed. That is reality. You're going to be disappointed. So this week in the news, we've had plenty of fantastic things happening. We did not have a debate, sadly, or happily, depending on who you are. And instead we had some town halls. And those town halls were lackluster, to say the least. But I did want to start with the town halls because it is at least something that happened. I didn't actually watch the Trump one. I decided to watch the Biden one in hopes that I'd see some funny stuff, and there was some funny stuff. I think those people who are hoping for Biden to have a mental breakdown and just like not be able to complete a sentence are unfortunately going to be dissatisfied this election cycle. I think it's fairly clear that he's going to hold it together, and that is much to the dismay of the people who want him not to. But I think that whether it's his medication or something's working out for him, he's probably going to end up making it to the fourth without making any serious gaffes. But the town hall itself was largely what you'd expect. It was sort of the rambling of an old guy, whether it's senile oldness or just regular oldness. He just talked a whole lot. And there were a couple little bits that I wanted to show, and I didn't clip it, but I've got the video up, and I hope you can hear it. In fact, for anyone who's actually in the room, can you just tell me if you can hear this?
In a system that continually fails to protect them.
Well, I'd say, first of all...
Can we hear that? So, the question is, it's this black guy that's talking, and he's asking basically about how black people have kind of had a bad deal recently, and so Joe goes and he starts talking about it's really hard to tell. I mean, the question is at 125, and he goes and he goes and he goes until like, I don't know, it's like five or 6 minutes, and eventually George Stephanopoulos comes in. I'm gonna try to find the bit here.
And I were the same age, and we split our differences, and we were the same age, and we went to the same builder to buy us each the same home. But my home was in a white neighborhood on one side of a highway, and yours is in a black neighborhood. Same exact home. Your home will start off being valued 29% less than my home, yet your insurance for that home will be higher. You'll be taxed more for it. We've got to end this. That's what got me involved in politics in the first place, a thing called redlining. We can change so much, that we can do so much to change the circumstances to give people a real opportunity.
Cedric, did you hear what you said?
So George Stephanopoulos cuts in, and he does this a couple of times during this, and he just stops him from rambling. And so he's like, hey, I think his name is Cedric. Did you hear what you wanted to hear? And this was my favorite part of the whole night.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just saying, do you hear what you needed to hear?
I think so.
If you can see this guy's face, I recommend it. I'm on the ABC version, which is like 3 hours and 16 minutes long, and this guy's face was like, I think so. Like, he didn't really know. I'm not sure where he leaned, but he certainly was just as confused as everyone else by the end of it. And then this is what Biden says afterwards.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot more if you're going to hang around afterwards. I'll tell you more.
Okay.
Let's get
No, but I really mean it. It is the key. Look, this is the
It
way.
just goes on for a bit longer. And the next one, I think it was like a Republican lady started talking, and at the end, like, again, gets cut off, and I think it's right here.
It turned out that by the time we got to the late 90s, the crime had come down so much, and the mayors and needs to be tried. It's not. That's why we have to provide within police departments psychologists and social workers to go out with the cops on those calls, some of those 911 calls, to de-escalate the circumstance, to deal with talking them down. But we can't. Cops.
Sorry, I didn't have the chat up. Is this a Trump channel? Well, no, it's not a Trump channel. I think the point of this is really just to deconstruct what's happening in the news. So my thesis is that everything you're going to hear in the news is bad. So anything you can just cherry pick and deconstruct any of it, make fun of any of it. So yes, there will be some making fun of Biden because Biden's easy to make fun of. They'll be easy. It's easy to make fun of Trump too. It's easy to make fun of George Stephanopoulos and Sean Hannity and Rachel Maddow particularly. So anyone's fair game in this. I do have a lot of Biden clips, but that is incidental. So if that matters, that's where we're at. Yeah, we're gonna get to the polls here too. That's in the works here. But I did want to point out this little bit here from the debate.
Cops are kind of like school teachers now. You know, a school teacher has to know everything from how to handle hunger in a household as well as how to teach how to read. Well, cops don't have that breadth. And there's a lot of things we can do. We shouldn't be defunding cops. We should be sure there's total transparency.
Take another quick break. We'll be right back.
I don't know the answer to your question, but
I don't know if I answered your question. He said that a couple times. I'm not sure if I answered your question. But it's good. It was fun to watch. But overall, as you know from any of these things, these debates, these town halls, it's not going to change anyone's mind. Anything that you're looking at, it's not going to change. It might just give you ammo for the people that you're talking to. Biden, he's running for, I don't know, it depends on when you ask him. Sometimes he's running for Senate and sometimes he's running for president. So that will be, I guess we'll see when we get to the polls whether he's in the presidential polls or Senate. We're not sure what state yet either. So that's really all I have from the town halls. It wasn't really that interesting. There was a little bit to think about from what Biden said. You know, he's just an old guy. He's a nice old guy. My wife was watching, and she was like, oh, man, I just feel bad for him. I think everyone feels bad for him, and he shouldn't be there. But he is, and that's what we're dealing with. So if you're watching now, see to it that you can press the share button, get the word out. Thank you. Appreciate that. So after where are we here? There's a couple other things I want to talk about. I think my favorite thing that happened this week was the Pelosi stuff. I don't know if anyone else followed the Nancy Pelosi interview with Wolf Blitzer. It was fantastic. I'm not sure what they're going for here, though, because Wolf Blitzer is ostensibly going to be someone that is pro Nancy Pelosi, pro what she's doing, but he definitely gave it to her. He definitely was not as pandering as you'd expect. So she wasn't ready for that. I'm not sure what she was expecting in this all, but she certainly didn't get it. Wolf Blitzer interviewed her. I don't remember which day it was, but he was basically saying to her, you should just take the deal. whatever deal the president or the Republicans have, because at least that's an amount of money for the people who need it. And she has said, forthright that she's not even talking to the president, let alone doing that. Pennsylvania is really interesting, by the way. How do I see Pennsylvania voting? It was so tight last time, and the problem was, I think Hillary Clinton was a candidate that people would actively vote against. That is to say, it wasn't just a Democrat versus a Republican. It was like people who like Trump, people who don't like Hillary, all on one side, and then your Democrats on the other. So I don't know. I mean, I think Pennsylvania is key for Donald Trump, and I'm not really sure. I mean, the area that I'm in seems to be fairly Trump, but it's the big cities, and it's just whichever way they go, and we'll see about that. I don't know. It's a good question. So we've got Wolf Blitzer. Let's see, where's the... Here, this is the first clip that I got.
$1 billion is significant and more than twice the Obama stimulus. Make a deal, put the ball in McConnell court. So what do you say to Ro Khanna?
What I say to you is, I don't know why you're always an apologist, and many of your colleagues apologists for the Republican position. Ro Khanna, that's nice. That isn't what we're going to do, and nobody's waiting till February.
No one's waiting till February. Has anyone ever heard of CNN being an apologist to Republicans? Because I don't know if she's just going crazy, or if she or if maybe they said he had a nice, I don't know, his suit was nice one time, but she's like, that's crazy. There's no sense in which CNN is an apologist for Republicans, but she was not having any of it, and she was. It was fun to watch, man. I'm not gonna lie, but there's two other clips that I have here.
Do you have any idea of how
That's precisely why, Madam Speaker,
short they're concerned?
That's why it's so important right now. Yesterday I spoke to Andrew Yang, who says the same thing. It's not everything you want, but there's a lot there.
Honest to God, you really, I can't get over it, because Andrew Yang, he's lovely. Ro Khanna, he's lovely. They are not negotiating this situation. They have no idea of the particulars. They have no idea of what the language is here. I didn't come over here to have... So you're the apologist for the Obama... Excuse me. God forbid.
Madam Speaker...
She says Obama, and then she kind of crosses her heart. God forbid I ever say anything bad about Barack Obama.
I'm not an apologist. I'm asking you serious questions, because so many people are in desperate need right now. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
When was the last time...
Let me respond to you.
Let me ask you, when was the last time, Madam Speaker, when was the last time you spoke with the President about this?
I don't speak to the President. Speak with his representative.
Why not call him?
Yeah, we'll get to Hunter. We'll get there.
Let's say, Mr. President, let's work out a deal. It's not going to be everything you want, not going to be everything I want, but there are so many Americans right now who are in desperate need. Let's make a deal.
What makes me amused, if it weren't so sad, is how you all think that you know more about the suffering of the American people than those of us who are elected by them to represent them at that table. Do you have...
Yeah, no one knows more about the suffering of American people than Nancy Pelosi. She is among us. She's living in our communities. She has her finger to the pulse of the American people, particularly those in California, and she just knows exactly what's wrong. And Wolf Blitzer could never get it. He'll never get it. Then they just start arguing at the end.
And Madam Speaker, I certainly respect you, but I also respect Ro Khanna. I respect Andrew Yang. I respect members of the Democrats who are members of the problem solvers. They want a deal because so many people right now are suffering.
Well, the problem solvers, by the way, don't have any earned income tax credit or child tax credit in their proposal either. But let's not go into that.
Yeah,
you evidently do not respect the chairman of the committees who wrote these bills.
I respect
and
all of you.
And I wish you would respect the knowledge that goes into meeting the needs of the American people. But again, you've been on a jag defending the administration all this time with no knowledge of the difference between our two bills, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to say that to you in person.
All right, Madam Speaker,
virtually.
these are
It's going to end here, but then they just keep going back and forth.
They're incredibly difficult times right now, and we'll leave it on that note. Thank you so much for joining
we'll
us.
leave it on the vote that you are not right on this, Wolf, and I hate to say that to you. But I feel confident about it, and I feel confident about my colleagues, and I feel confidence in my chairs.
And it's not about me. It's about millions of Americans who can't put food on the table, who can't pay the rent,
and we
having
represent
trouble,
them.
who
And we
are
represent them.
getting
And
by
we represent
these
them.
long food
and
lines
we represent
that we're seeing.
them.
I know
we
you
know
are.
them.
I'm just
we
saying.
We represent them, and we know them.
As we
We
say,
know them. We represent them.
don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, as they say
It is
here in
nowhere
Washington.
near perfect.
Madam Speaker.
Always the case, but we're not even close to the good.
Yeah, so it was a great clip. I was happy that it happened. I really wonder what's going on with this, because you wouldn't expect it just generally for that sort of thing to be happening with the Speaker of the House or you know what I mean, not the Speaker of the House, with such a prominent member of Senate, and that sort of ire or that sort of resistance. I wonder if one of two things. I wonder if one, they're just kind of done with her. She's old. She is quite old, and she's quite crazy. And they're thinking it's time for a new face to the party. I mean, she's gotten a couple of new faces, but a new face, like a different person. And they're just kind of trying to put the screws to her, because it doesn't. After a short period of time, it's not really going to matter. So that's probably what I'm thinking. But there are some other thoughts about just CNN in general and what they're shooting for. But either way, interesting times. Not sure exactly what's going on there. But beyond Nancy Pelosi, we have plenty of other things that are going on. Where's my clips? Here they are. I guess we can do Hunter Biden. That could work. So, two big things with the Hunter Biden issue. Just to recap for those who don't know, apparently the story is that someone, ideally it was probably Hunter Biden, left a laptop that belonged to Hunter Biden at a repair shop, and that repair shop, I guess, he never came to pick it up. So, most of these repair shops have, like, if you don't pick it up in 30 days, then it becomes the property of the repair shop. Well, it became the property of the repair shop, and the guy that owned the repair shop decided to look through the hard drive and saw some pretty crazy stuff about Hunter Biden. And we know just from other allegations that he was at times into drugs, and that there was some seedy dealings with foreign countries. People suspect that maybe there was some quid pro quo, that he was getting paid quite a bit of money, so that his political connections could make some sort of things happen for these companies. And that's all probably true. But this laptop ended up in the hands of Rudy Giuliani, and at that point, it became a political spectacle. The first thing I want to talk about from this, though, is not necessarily the laptop itself or the contents of the laptop, which I'm sure we'll be seeing. Yeah, it's expensive. What we'll be seeing come out. I mean, there's allegations that there's going to be some crazy stuff coming from that laptop. But more importantly, I think more importantly, is what happened with Twitter and what happened with Facebook. The original story was posted by the New York Post, which is sort of a tabloid newspaper, but it is a reputable. It is a source of journalism, and it was unshareable. You couldn't share it on Twitter, you couldn't share it on Facebook, and that like the link just wouldn't share. And people were wondering what was going on with that, because they didn't really give much of an explanation. When the explanation did come out, it was that essentially the source was from a stolen source. So the laptop was stolen or hacked or whatever, and you're not supposed to do that. Of course, immediately people came out with the idea that the Trump tax returns were released, and everyone was able to share that, but they weren't able to share the Hunter Biden stuff. So obviously there's some lies that are involved with this. And I think the social media people just have to really confess to the fact that they are partisan, that they are shooting for Joe Biden to win the election, and that they are anti-Trump. They have been subpoenaed, at least Jack from Twitter has. I'm not sure about the other guys. And they will go before Congress or whoever they're going before, some committee of some sort. And likely it's going to be nothing. But I think it's important to point out, we need to realize that this is actually happening. That these people are not impartial. They are biased, and they do have an agenda for what is happening. So that's the first part, that these social media companies, I'm excited to see what happens. I don't think anything's going to happen. I think it's going to be another, flub for that, but whatever. It will happen, and we'll see. We'll talk about it when it does. If you are here watching, please hit that like button. Hit the share button. I would like to see as many people in here as possible. It's exciting to see people here, people talking. I enjoy the interaction. Share it, like it. I appreciate it. So the next part of the Hunter Biden emails, or emails or whatever's on the laptop, is of course the content. And you've seen some of the pictures. The New York Post has those pictures, and they're pretty sleazy. They make them look a little sleazy for sure. And there's some emails regarding hooking people up with meetings, right? Hunter Biden meeting people, getting people set up with Joe or some other political folks. And yeah, it looks shady for sure. And the fear is, of course, that whoever has this information, Rudy Giuliani or whoever it is, probably isn't the only one that has it. Likely that if Hunter Biden's doing some crazy stuff, China probably has that information, or other groups that we probably don't want. And the fear is that that will be content for blackmail. Should Joe Biden become president, he'll basically be in the pocket of China or whoever it is that has that material over him. There is allegations that there is pornographic material, and allegations that it is pedophilic in nature. However, the source that I saw for that was InfoWars, so let's wait until we see maybe a little more coming out on that. It wouldn't surprise me if that actually ended up coming out, if you could actually watch it. What is it? Epicurean, you don't think is true? Oh, the pedophilia. I don't know, one way or the other. It wouldn't surprise me that there's smut on it, whether it's him or the stuff that he just kind of watched. I don't know, but either way, that's probably not going to see the light of day one way or the other. But all in all, I don't think it's going to change anything, frankly. There are so few people that don't know what they're voting. That there are so few independent voters or undecided voters at this time that anything could be on that laptop. What was it in 2016? I think Trump said something like, "I could walk out into the street and shoot someone in the head, and it wouldn't change what people think about about me. It wouldn't change my stats, my standings." That's probably true. So it's an October surprise. We know that these sorts of things come out in October to try to discredit people, but at this time, I just don't think it's going to matter. Frankly, I don't. It does have implications for foreign policy under a Biden administration, but that still has to be seen. We still have to see if that even comes to being. I could be I don't know. I'm not really sure. I personally, if we're gonna talk election, I want to do two other quick things with the Biden laptop, because the way they're spinning this is very interesting. Let me try to find the clip. It is, let's see. This is Adam Schiff. Everyone's favorite Adam Schiff is talking to Blitzer, and he thinks that this is Russian disinformation.
Thanks so much for joining us. Does it surprise you at all that this information Rudy Giuliani is peddling very well could be connected to some sort of Russian government disinformation campaign?
Well, we know that this whole smear on Joe Biden comes from the Kremlin. That's been clear for well over a year now, that they've been pushing this false narrative about the vice president and his son. And, the idea that the president, that the White House counsel and others were made aware that Giuliani was being used by Russian intelligence and using Russian intelligence in the sense of meeting with an agent of the Kremlin and pushing out this Kremlin false narrative. The idea that they were knowing and still on the floor of the Senate during the impeachment trial, pushing this Kremlin narrative is pretty breathtaking. But I guess at this point, we can't be shocked by anything this administration does, no matter how craven. But clearly, the origins of this whole smear are from the Kremlin, and the president is only too happy to have Kremlin help in trying to amplify.
Yeah, so the spin is that essentially that this is Russia helping Trump, and they planned it together, and Trump loves Russia, which is at this point just tedious. We know that is something that's been mulled through the media for a long time, and it's whatever. So that was Schiff, and now there's also, I think I have a Bannon one, not a Bannon, what's his face? Nope, I don't actually. It was a Clapper, James Clapper clip, but I don't have it. But I do have Giuliani talking about the specifics.
Look at it. You tell me if it isn't authentic. It's authentic as hell. Some of those pictures on it can only have come from him. And I'll tell you why I know it for sure. I have about 10 pieces of confidential information nobody knows, except me and Hunter Biden. Kept it that way. I investigated cases of 50 years. Every one of those hits the mark.
Rudy,
in other words, I have an anonymous source. I'll give you an example. I have an anonymous source that reports on a meeting at the State Department, which would violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act. And Hunter Biden was taken in the back door and kept off the books. The gentleman who was involved in it and who told me about it had the date. I've had that for a year and a half. That very date shows up in his emails. There are 5 emails setting up that appointment, that date, that exact time. I've got 5 of those if anybody cares to examine it. They're not even disputing it. This is Hunter Biden's emails, texts, and really, the photographs will shock the hell out of you.
So, Rudy, for people at
Those
home,
photographs are disgusting, and they make him a national security risk for the United States.
All right, we get it. The Ratcliffe responding to Schiff? No, I haven't, but I did search it up. I can play it now. Let's see. This was... No, it was 10 months ago. Are you talking about 10 months ago? Or is it something that happened recently? Because that's all I see is something that's older. Today. No, I can't... I don't see it coming up. I'll have to look for it later. If you want to find it, you could post it in the chat and I'll play it. But that is moving on. I wanted to do some COVID stuff, and I wanted to do some just general election sort of thing. But I also wanted to point out, well, let's start with COVID. So, I'm over it, guys. I'm over it. I think that we need to really start thinking about ways to fight for normalcy It's really incredible how far this has been taken. And I think the important thing, and I said this on the first podcast, I don't think I've said it since, or maybe I have, is to look at the deaths. The deaths are going down, and the cases may be going up, but that's because we're just testing so much. I have a clip of Cuomo here. I think it's a fun clip I think I have it. Yeah, here it is.
We do more testing than any state in the United States. We do more testing in one day, Jim, than most states do all week. So when you do that much testing, you can target exactly where the new cases come from, the quote-unquote clusters. And we can target them by block. And what we're now doing is where we see a cluster, and our infection rate in a cluster is about 5%, which is still lower than most states. We just target those clusters. And we have a couple of unique clusters, frankly, which are more religious organizations.
He's mad at the Jews because they're not obeying as much as they need to. And they are, they have higher infection rates. Why these people take tests anyway is beyond me.
And that's what we're targeting. But that's the way it should happen.
Do you blame those groups for flouting the rules?
Blame. Blame will be done by a higher authority at one time. They're not following the rules. We know what happens when you don't follow the rules. The infection rate goes up. And
what happens when you don't follow the rules, guys?
It just proves our point from the get-go. We know how to control the virus, but you have to control the virus. You have to be disciplined. And when you don't follow the rules, it goes up. And that's what's happening in these very small clusters. Now, these are religious groups. It tends to get more complicated, frankly, because of some cultural aspects.
All right, so he's doing his thing. He's trying to get everyone to obey. And apparently the Jewish people just aren't really taking it, so they're getting shut down, and that is essentially what's happening. And he doesn't care about your religion; it doesn't matter. He just cares about you wearing your mask and you quarantining and such like that. I mean, really, even New York isn't as bad as some places, some foreign places. It's getting, of course, it's been really bad in Victoria. It's been really bad in those places in Australia. Europe's got some pretty bad stuff as far as Germany. I think France is starting to pick up again with the quarantining, with the mask requirements, with curfews. These are all things that are going up. They're increasing. And the things that's not increasing is the deaths. They're not increasing. So, boy, we have to really start thinking about this. We have to start thinking about what's going on. What is the actual... Now, I'm not trying to say that there's a conspiracy and that they're trying to, create a new world order. But I do think that there is a power play. There is a sense in which people want, governments want their people to be malleable and controllable. And they want to be able to do things like, like a cashless society, like tracking people. This makes their lives easier. This makes it easier for a lot of things that they're going to do. So the fact that they're able to test a lot of these things when people are scared, when people are looking to them to help them, to get them through what they think is something that's going to kill them, we have to start seeing what's coming of this. What is actually going to happen when this all dies down? Is there going to be another one, right? We're going to have COVID-20, COVID-21. Are these all, is this just, like they say, the new normal? I know that they're really linking this to climate change. I'm sure you've heard the what's it called? The catchphrase, build back better. They're using that to kind of link COVID. Okay, everything's devastated with COVID. Our economy's bad. We've been locked down. We're sad. We're depressed. Blah, blah, blah. We're going to build back better. And by building back better, we're going to have, we're going to get away from our old ways. We're going to not be, fossil fuels, and we're not going to be racists and stuff like that. We're just, it's all an agenda. And it is an agenda that is probably counter to what a lot of people would normally go for, but because they're in this scared state because of COVID, it's coming through a lot easier. I mean, think about like they're talking about digital passports. You know, you're going to need a digital passport that has whether you've been vaccinated or whether you've been tested, and you're going to show it to your airplane company, or you're going to show it to customs when you arrive in a country. It's going to be crazy. Yeah, and even this stuff like isolating people, you know, these people everyone's working from home, everyone's, you know, even from their own families. I just talked to someone today that wanted to cancel. Well, no, they did. They canceled their Thanksgiving, you know, because they just don't want to get sick. They don't want anyone else to get sick, and it's sad. It's a real shame, and it's a shame that people are going along with it. So, I think it's worth doing something about. It's worth doing something about. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the odds, it's pretty incredible, especially depending on your age. That's why a lot of doctors are recommending people just kind of go do their thing. You know, everyone gets herd immunity. I think it's called the Barrington Declaration. We talked about it last week in the podcast. It's called the Great Barrington Declaration. It's a bunch of scientists and doctors and pharmacists or whoever that basically said, like, locking down is not good. It's not a helpful way to go about it. It's better that the people that are able to resist the virus, the people that aren't probably going to die, go ahead and get it. That way, the people who are in trouble, people who have difficulty, will benefit from the herd immunity. The average age of COVID's death is older than the average age of death. That's really funny. I've never heard that before, but I believe it. I certainly believe that is true. Oh man, I'm really glad that you said that. That's fantastic. So yeah, COVID is just, I don't know, it's over, man. We just have to. The problem is it's not over, right? Because it will go away if Trump loses, then things will start to go back to normal. But even so, you hear what Biden's saying. He's gonna lock us back down. He's gonna mandate masks. It's never going away. I think it's a real shame for the businesses. It's a real shame for the people that are in a situation where they can't run their business, where they've lost their business, or they have to be a jerk to people. You know, I'm in a place, I'm in an industry where I work with a lot of sort of blue collar shops, like repair shops and tire places, and they're pretty chill. Like if you're at like a repair place, like normally you can go in and not wear a mask, but everywhere else they're gonna get you. And or the Karens are gonna get you. The people who are just in the store with you are gonna scream at you until you put your mask on. So it's gotta stop, but it's not going to. That's why, at least, right, the best thing that we can do is know for ourselves, right? Don't be afraid. Don't let this control your life. Do the best that you can. Tell others not to be afraid. There is a video I just watched today about masks. It's a mask situation here, and it is from One American News Network, which I don't know. Are those one of those? Is that like one of those super conservative ones? But I talked to a bunch of doctors, and basically the doctors are like, yo, you shouldn't be wearing the masks. And you've seen this throughout all of COVID. There's been doctors coming out and saying, oh, we got to do the what's that? Hydroxychloroquine or the Z-Pack, or, you know, coronavirus doesn't spread through air. It does spread through air. And basically all these doctors just get lambasted. They just get attacked, and they're all quacks. But they're doctors, right? I mean, they went to med school. What makes them less qualified to talk about it than anyone else? Here's that clip. It's Doctors Speak Out Against Masks, One American News Network.
And a small group of medical experts from around the country are speaking out against misinformation on the coronavirus. The doctors gathered on the Supreme Court steps in the nation's capital this morning to tell Americans not to be afraid of the virus. These doctors argued masks do not help curb the spread of the virus. In fact, they say the masks are socially divisive and pose a threat to civil liberties and national security. They assert doctors in America are capable of treating COVID-19 and early treatment is key. Christina Bobb has more on that event from Washington.
America's Frontline Doctors is a group of doctors who aim to dispel misinformation aimed at COVID-19. They gathered here today in Washington, D.C. in front of the Supreme Court to give that information to the American people.
There's just a bunch of doctors talking. Something pretty strange looking. But, I mean, whether it's legit or not, it's worth mentioning that they got covered. Is this the same one that was doing the exorcisms? Because I know there was that I think she was like a South African lady or something that did some pretty crazy stuff. Is this the same? Is this the same group or is that a different group? But you mentioned Plato, and I think it's worth going into real quick. So Plato was certainly not all about. No, this is a new clip, I think. Let me check when this one came out. I think this was today, actually. Yeah, this was today, October 18th. So I don't know if it's just an old clip or not, but I think it's new. Anyway, so Plato in the Republic has this, we call it kind of the slippery slope of political systems. And he starts with his ideal republic. And from there, it devolves. It's always going down. So it goes from the republic to what's called, I think it's an oligarchy, then a timocracy, then a democracy, and then a tyranny. So actually, the second to worst possible political system, according to Plato, is the democracy. And the democracy is the one in which all the people have a say in how they're governed. And the reason he says this is just because people are not all people are really qualified to run a state, right? The best possible situation would be that you get some really competent people, some people who were good, that is to say, they are virtuous and wise and intelligent enough to actually govern a state, and they govern the state. That would be best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you have a tyrant who is evil and selfish, and he governs the state. And somewhere in the middle is just kind of letting everyone do it, letting everyone sort of govern. And so Plato's got a point, right? That's why we have a representative democracy. We do. It makes the possibility of damage much lower because we elect people, and there's some sort of a vetting process about who even gets to that point, and then we kind of let those people do the governing. Now with the internet, it would be a crazy experiment, but with the internet you could ostensibly let everyone have one vote, right? Everyone could log into their own little voting portal and everyone could vote on topics, but I don't think it's a good idea, frankly. So, as far as COVID news goes, I think we have to realize that there is just a lot of stuff that is fear-mongering, right? It's all about how to make people more afraid. And if you want, if you want to look back at some of the older episodes, you'll see that we've played quite a few. We've played a lot about just this fear-mongering. This idea that we're going to die, that we need people to help us or we're going to die. But I'm not going to play those clips today because I've done them, and that is that. But you've obviously, if you're here in this room, you're used to YouTube. YouTube has its own COVID-19 news, right? You're on your homepage and you scroll down 1, 2, 3 rows, and it's COVID-19. So 4 out of the first, 4 out of the first 16, 18 videos you're going to watch are COVID. I mean, come on. It's too much. thrown in your face all the time, and it's always, all the videos are, the cases are going up, 50% rise, massive surge in cases, everyone's gonna die. I'm done of it. I'm done. We should all be done. If people start telling you to be afraid, people start telling you, whatever, just ignore them or correct them, but you can't because they're crazy. All right, what's next? We gotta keep moving here. Is there anything? Do I have anything else? Bill Gates. I've got some Bill Gates. I've got some Keith Olbermann. Yeah, let's do it. Why not? Why not? It's a good day. This is a fun one. So last time I talked about this, the Lincoln Project ads that are anti-Trump. And it was a lot of political stuff, a lot of smear tactics going on there. But the thing that really got me was the comments. These people are crazy. Like, they're talking about like arresting Trump after he's unelected, dragging him through the streets like they did to Mussolini. Like, they are really crazy. And this Olbermann clip is kind of just like that. I will play it. I have not watched the YouTube videos from Jason Brennan, but I would love to, and I will after this. I will make sure I have it watched by next time for sure. Listen to this clip.
Let us brace ourselves. The task is twofold. The terrorist Trump must be defeated, must be destroyed, must be devoured at the ballot box. And then he and his enablers and his supporters and his collaborators and the Mike Lees and the William Barrs and the Sean Hannitys and the Mike Pences and the Rudy Giulianis and the Kyle Rittenhouses and the Amy Coney Barretts must be prosecuted and convicted and removed from our society while we try to rebuild.
While I try to rebuild. Yeah, that's crazy. Like, I know that the stakes have been raised, right? Like, the problem with the Donald Trump presidency is that the next president is going to feel like he has to, like, live up to those stakes. These people are going to want revenge, right? They thought that they had to endure 4 years of the worst possible thing that ever happened to them. And for some of them, maybe it was the worst possible thing that ever happened to them. But it's a cycle that's really scary, because the next group that comes in is going to feel like they have to up the ante. And then it's just going to be back and forth. And it's going to turn into a really bad thing. It will turn into violence. I mean, it already has. It's going to turn into oppression. And I don't know. It's not good. There's not a lot of good coming from that, but it's gonna happen, and there's not really too much we can do about it unless Kanye gets elected. Kanye, did you guys see that Kanye ad? Kanye's gonna bring peace. That's what he's gonna do. That's possible. I could see Kanye 24. Micah doesn't believe so. He said last time he does not think, but it's possible. Totally possible. So I have, let's see. No, I'm not going to play another COVID clip. We're pretty much done with COVID. So I think that is it for today. I want to thank everyone who joined in the chat. It was a really good time. I'm glad that we got to interact. Last time we did this, we just recorded it and we put it up, but I really appreciate the opportunity to interact with the folks in the chat. Thank you, Neo Epicurean and K-Dean, for being here. And please come again. We're going to try to do this on Mondays, every Monday, somewhere around 8. That's the hope. And check us out on Facebook. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Give us some likes, give us some posts, because we're hoping to build this up, turn this into something bigger than it is. And we could definitely use the help. I really appreciate everyone stopping by. And I will hopefully see you guys next time.